I feel like it's been at least a week since I've come on here and done any content. Hey, I'm Tiffany, your guide to inner knowing and transformation and expansion through plant medicine. So, a lot of my content is really focused around three pieces of plant medicine retreats or experiences, which is the pre work, the journey, and then the integration. And I love neuroscience in the brain, so a lot of it is heavily focused on how we stay stuck in our loops and our patterns and our narratives. And it's been about a week probably since I've come on here because holy fuck, I got caught in the biggest pattern loop abandonment wound. Abandonment wound. This is why we get stuck for so long. Abandonment wound that was triggered simply by my partner leaving for a job opportunity. So he's going to be gone for a little while, explore the job, all of the things. But it triggered my fight, flight, or freeze, and I couldn't even notice it. Like I was angry, I was being mean, I was sad, I was sleeping a lot. Like I wasn't even aware that I was in the middle of it. And finally he just kind of said like, "Hey, listen, you're doing that thing that I know about you, which is when you feel like you're being abandoned, you're going to push away as the unhealthy coping mechanism, build up the wall, and just burn it to the ground." I say that a lot. Sometimes I burn a lot of things to the ground out of frustration, patterns, all of this stuff. And I wasn't even aware I was doing that. And so, embodied action, actual change, integration. It's cool that we have a movement of self awareness, right? It's a thing I guide my therapy clients in is to have an awareness of your patterns, of your feedback loops, how your personal narrative has been built in childhood, through school, through other people, and how you create and validate that narrative through the experiences in your life. A lot of times we are often responding reactively instead of proactively. So, awareness is only one piece of it. And the more we're doing our own work, the easier it is to recognize when we're dysregulated. So, abandonment wounds, for me, my abandonment wound, can show up in everyday situations like, having a disagreement and shutting down or fighting loudly, and not fighting like loudly as in yelling, but fighting loudly as in stomping my feet, this is what I need, or whatever it is. On most days, I'm pretty regulated and I can see that it is happening. But this one caught me off guard. It was intense, and I feel like I'm on an emotional hangover from it, because it basically just threw me off of all of the proactive work I do. That's just the simplest as doing my skincare routine or journaling or, you know, coming from a place of love and emotion regulation as the rule, not the exception, right? And so integration is understanding that our work doesn't necessarily end, it evolves throughout our lives. And through times of transition, those transition periods like this one, a major life transition, and, ooh, my hand's shaking, major life transition or decision, are often good. They're positive. You think about getting married or having kids or changing jobs and promotions. All of those things are good, but they have the ability to dysregulate us because it means something is changing. It means letting go of the version of ourselves that existed up until that transition period. So people go into their unhealthy coping mechanisms because our bodies constantly, our brain is constantly seeking out patterns, and our bodies hold on to our emotions. There's a great book called The Body Keeps Score, which is all about how our bodies hold on to trauma, right? And so when it feels familiar in the body, as in your fight, flight, or freeze, fawn get triggered, you just respond without even thinking about it. And because I was so taken aback by it, where I could normally be reflective and say, like, oh, you're being really agitated and crabby and mean, there's usually a point where I can recognize that, right? It didn't happen this time. And because it started off slowly, where it wasn't even like I felt triggered and agitated, it was, I'm excited for this opportunity, but I feel sad by it. The sadness made me feel slightly depressed, because sadness and depression always go hand in hand in the pattern of my brain. So then I stopped doing my skincare and I wasn't journaling. And those are some of the two biggest things I do for myself. Skincare is just taking care of yourself, but it's something I've come to love about caring for myself. And journaling is the piece where I try to be very reflective about how I'm feeling, that it all just hurtled into a big thing. Thank goodness I have a partner that can understand that my agitation and anger wasn't necessarily about him, and that he could be regulated and say, hey, listen, you know, we can spend these next few days in love, like expressing love, or you can keep pushing me away. And that was my cue to say, whoa, I'm not doing my work again, right? And it's always in the transition periods that we stop doing that work. That's why we're reminded that we are always called to continuously do this work. And this work seems very vague and abstract for a lot of people, but that's also why we have therapists or coaches, or, you know, the integration piece of a journey and experiences. They're all meaningful, and they all have a different place and a different time for where you are in your own journey of life itself. And so I was struggling to get back into doing content. So I just wanted to just say whatever was at the front of my mind, and a great reminder for me that the work doesn't end, it just evolves. Have a good